You're listening to the audio portion of Workshop Wednesdays. Workshop Wednesdays is a free live discussion about topics affecting accountants, bookkeepers, and business owners. You can join the ABO group in Facebook to participate live Wednesdays at 10 a.m. Pacific Time. Just search for ABBO in Facebook. This podcast is brought to you by Schoolofbookkeeping.com, where you will learn, grow, and build a thriving bookkeeping practice. We have hundreds of lessons with almost every aspect of the industry. Start your free month today at Schoolofbookkeeping.com.
Well, welcome everybody to another Workshop Wednesday brought to you by Schoolofbookkeeping.com, where it's allowing you to be the best bookkeeper you can be because we have serious conversations, casual conversations.
Yeah,
serious
you're
workbooks.
confusing me. Casual conversation.
Casual. So we're here casually talking with Rachel, who just came back from Happy Camp. What was that? How was that experience for you?
It was amazing. It was so wonderful. And it was even better because of the location that they chose, which was in Tuvok. I don't know how you pronounce it.
You said
Arizona,
it right,
just-
Tuvok.
Not from Tucson. And it was beautiful weather, beautiful resort, so tranquil. It was amazing.
Yeah, and that fun fact, that's the first place that Rachel and I met each other. So in your original
2 years ago.
2 years prior.
In Virginia.
And here we
Very
and-
cool.
And here we are co-hosting the workshop together. So today we're going to unpack a first look at the new Intuit Enterprise Suite. So we'll talk a little bit about that, but we wanted to recap some of the things that we had announced last week with Sean from Katana was on us on. We talked about some of the challenges that are going on inside of School of Bookkeeping's community. And so we wanted to recap those because we want to encourage a community and engagement in the School of Bookkeeping community. And some of those things involve a small challenge with designed to be like a fun thing to do outside of the umbrella of social media, which is quite toxic, I think. Especially this year with everything that's going on. We have a couple things that are happening in there, which is we have a bookkeeping bingo challenge, which you opt in, you join the challenge, and you're able to get a bingo card. It's randomly associated with bookkeeping tasks, and you make a bingo, you upload it in there, and you can get some school bookkeeping swag out of the deal. It's a little fun thing to do. It's going on for a month, and I'm looking for the QR code there, so I'm going to put that up there in the upper corner. You can take out your phone, scan it, and get you to the right place to join the challenge in our community. You just need to be a member of School of Bookkeeping to participate, and there's free options. You can opt in for just some free ways to navigate around inside of School of Bookkeeping, and the community is one of them. And then we also have
Unless I would do it with
wow. And then another challenge we have there is sharing the workshop, because we want to make sure that people are aware of that we do this workshop every week. There you go. Yes, you are in the lead of the challenge. So you can pop in there, share the workshop with your social media of choice, and just let us know what that is, and then you'll get some points, and then we'll share some winnings there, or some swag and those types of things. So those couple things are in there. Just giving you something else to do inside of the community. What was your? Yeah, there is a mobile app that you can download. It keeps you completely outside of the going into the website or needing to access through social media channels or anything like that, you can download the Kajabi Communities website, or I'm sorry, the mobile app, and then see the challenges, make your posts directly from your mobile device, which is a lot easier to do, like screenshots and things like that on the mobile device as opposed to going in through the website. But that's that. So big news lately is there is this Intuit Enterprise Suite. So we want to unpack that. I've created a couple blog articles. I'm just going to post that here as a QR code. You can take a look at those. I did put them in the comments as well, so you can click on that and review and let us know what you think about Intuit Enterprise Suite. So we want to unpack a little bit about what this is and bucket it into 3 categories: what we know, what we don't know, and what we're speculating. Because
Dan and I, we've been having some conversations about that kind of thing and trying to hunt down a few of the things. And I asked you about inventory how many times?
Yes. What does it do? So yesterday in the QuickBooks Solution Provider channel, they unleashed a whole bunch of collateral and assets, marketing, those types of things. And one of them is like a side-by-side comparison between Intuit Enterprise Suite, QuickBooks Online Advanced, and QuickBooks Enterprise desktop software. And that's the first thing that we want to unpack, that this, because it says Enterprise, and there is a QuickBooks Enterprise, and now there's this Intuit Enterprise Suite, that all of this stuff is on purpose, right? So they're deliberate.
Fred name though, because it's a little confusing, because a lot of people want it, but it's the exact same capability, but now in a cloud-based solution. And I recommend work that using the same word.
Yeah. First thing is Intuit as opposed to QuickBooks, right?
Wow.
And this is something that is very deliberate on Intuit's part, right? Working there for 18 years or so, they always had a branding problem with the name of their company.
Yeah.
When I first started there, we were rejoicing when off of QuickBooks, when they removed from the makers of Quicken off of the QuickBooks thing, getting out from underneath the Quicken umbrella, which is the whole software that started Intuit to begin with, right? So to get away from underneath that was a rejoice, but they've been struggling with the whole Intuit QuickBooks, Intuit MailChimp, Intuit Credit Karma, putting the name of Intuit, and that is, and we're seeing this now in not just with this, but also Intuit Dome, right? Like they're big sponsor, naming rights and all that with the LA Clippers new stadium that
Oh my gosh,
leaving
we're
now.
really
So
getting into
they're
it.
not calling it Books Dome. They're not calling it MailChimp Arena. It's Intuit Dome, right? So they're being very specific about that.
Yeah.
And now coming up at the end of the month is Intuit Connect, not QuickBooks Connect, which was originally named. This is now Intuit Connect. So they're being very specific that this is putting their name first.
Yeah, and I almost wonder, Dan, if it's because Intuit is the public company, and Intuit is the one that you buy stock in, and Intuit is the one that is the significant name that people need to know.
When you look at Intuit, there's basically 4 major products that Intuit does, and divisions that Intuit handles, right? There's QuickBooks for small business. There's TurboTax for tax preparation, and they have a professional tax suite of services, LaCert and Pro Series and ProConnect Tax Online, and those types of things for tax preparers as well. And then MailChimp, which is a recent acquisition, and Credit Karma, which was a prior acquisition as well. So you've got the personal aspect of Credit Karma. You've got the tax preparation division and those types of things, the small business division with QuickBooks. And then you've got MailChimp, which is new customer acquisition, which kind of can spread across multiple things. So the fact that they're calling this a suite is on purpose as well, or deliberate as well, because you look at their website, it's powered by QuickBooks plus MailChimp, right? They can't call it QuickBooks Enterprise Suite simply because there's two things that they're combining
Yes.
into this thing as well.
They're
So,
diversifying.
and I can see a play for the future, right, where this is across all of that Intuit ecosystem, because what does Credit Karma do? They help people and encourage people to opt into other things that help them with their credit, right? So now that they have that data, they offer advertisements to other things that could potentially help with their credit, right? So the personal finance types of things, they got rid of Mint, they rolled it into Credit Karma, those types of things. This could be a larger play. And then last year,
Sorry to interrupt you, but does Mint have the same, does Credit Karma have the same capability as Mint? Because I was a Mint user for years and years. In that
Yeah,
you can watch your accounts and it feeds in your data.
yeah, the idea there, it's not as transactional as Mint or Quicken used to be. I moved myself over from Mint to Credit Karma, and that was the last time I played around with it.
Oh,
So I see that. And then last year with the Books business tax return powered by TurboTax, their service, they're a full service. I can see that being a part of this whole suite, right? And it makes sense now that they're calling it Intuit Enterprise Suite as opposed to QuickBooks. And that's part of I think the biggest challenge that people have when it comes to understanding what this route actually is. That Ozzy, it's Ozzy barking. He has something to say about the news that we're talking about. So there's that whole thing where it is definitely Intuit, the whole Intuit ecosystem, and then it potentially be a suite of services for that. We have, let me just quickly share my screen here, and hopefully she'll come back. So we have the first look, and I did put an initial thoughts prior to understanding or attending the webinar that they had last Thursday about what this Intuit Enterprise Suite actually is. But this first look is an idea and understanding what this is post that webinar, right? In a nutshell, I'm going to mute you because if you have something to say, go ahead and unmute yourself. So in a nutshell, and I had Intuit on the QuickBooks Power Hour, and they shared this graphic here, and this kind of encapsulates the trajectory of QuickBooks, where, Brad Smith, when he was the CEO, he made a claim, not necessarily a claim, but he gave a vision that QuickBooks would be the ecosystem for small business. And QuickBooks Online is one of those things. And this kind of encapsulates how they were envisioning to do that, right? So you have QuickBooks in the middle as the hub of the wheel, so to speak. And then you have deeply integrated services that Intuit offers. So QuickBooks Payments, QuickBooks Payroll, now QuickBooks Bill Pay, the Capital for short-term loans, and now MailChimp. Those are the deeply integrated QuickBooks services that you can connect to a QuickBooks Online company subscription. And then you have, for everything else, there's this app ecosystem of over 500, I don't know, it's probably thousands now, of apps that, quote unquote, work with QuickBooks, right? The devil's always in the details of how that actually shows up. But that was their vision initially, right? What has happened throughout all of this is that people have this disjointed Frankenstein of applications that may or may not work well with others, right? They're playing in the sandbox with QuickBooks, right? So if you have your payroll outside of QuickBooks, getting that information into QuickBooks may not give you the best solution or the best result of that if you had your payroll deeply integrated into QuickBooks with using QuickBooks Payroll directly in there. There's some advantages of having or of opting into those QuickBooks services. QuickBooks Payments, once you send a transaction, it then does everything after that for you, right? The payment gets recorded, the fees get recorded, the transaction gets matched into your bank download and pre-reconcile.
This is one that they got right. Love QuickBooks Payments.
Yeah, definitely good service. However, if they're holding up your funds like yesterday, because of things that are happening there, that does soil the situation when you have funds being delayed or transactions being declined and those types of things for recurring because of some of the transactions or transitions that they're going through. So that's their vision, to be the hub or the ecosystem of small business. But the reality sometimes is a little bit different than that. At first glance, you're going to look at or going to see the Intuit Enterprise Suite, and you see the screenshot here. This looks just like QuickBooks Online. That's what's powering underneath Intuit Enterprise Suite is QuickBooks Online, right? Because it is now making that transition into consolidating all of these disjointed services in one place. You're going to see things that look very familiar, right? And if we compare this to QuickBooks Desktop, you have that Pro Premier, but then you have QuickBooks Desktop Enterprise, which looks and feels much like QuickBooks Desktop Pro and Premier, and to help with those people who are outgrowing those levels of QuickBooks Desktop and needing something a little bit more robust. And so the same strategy or logic is occurring with regards to that. So the people that are outgrowing and needing a little bit more of what QuickBooks Online offers, that's where Intuit Enterprise Suite is going to come in very nicely, because they're not going to need to relearn a whole bunch of stuff because the navigation is something that's already familiar with them. What if not?
Right away. I love that it's got the same navigation.
And you've got some new menus, much like when you upgrade from Plus to Advanced, you get some new menu options and options on the left side.
It's familiar.
Right. Now, what it's not familiar for is somebody who's coming from QuickBooks Desktop Enterprise and going into Intuit Enterprise. So that middle word of enterprise, when they're on the desktop as opposed to the online, that enterprise is an equal one-to-one relationship. So you have, there's all sorts of things based when it involves that term, and you mentioned it earlier, Rachel, is that, hey, is this enterprise? Why did they choose a different term? Because now there's that confusion between, is this exactly the functionality that I get in an enterprise desktop in QuickBooks or Intuit Enterprise Suite? No, you don't, right? So because it's based on that foundation of QuickBooks Online, that's where you're coming from. So
But
that's
you
the
know
framework.
how you are such an expert. I have, even since when I first started using QuickBooks, there's a lot of confusion, and I see this in the pattern of still confusing. I don't know why they don't really separate things. I understand the logic behind it, and when you say it, it makes perfect sense. I'm just saying there's just been so much that has been so unclear and confusing that I really don't like this thing. Oh, I was gonna say, Dan, also, Susan is asking something.
Yes. Yeah, I was just about to throw that up there. Workplace or T-sheets, is it part of the suite? Yes, it's part of the suite because it's part of the payroll, right? We saw that in the last month or so where T-sheets or QuickBooks Time, Workplace, whatever they're calling it now, the standalone option of purchasing QuickBooks Time has been discontinued. So in reality, QuickBooks Time is essentially under the umbrella of QuickBooks Online Payroll, right? So if you want QuickBooks Time, you are going to need to opt into this QuickBooks Payroll, right? And that's the advantage, right? Or the promise here is that by having all of these things under one umbrella, you're going to have a better end-to-end solution experience because Intuit owns the whole end-to-end solution, right? So if you're using QuickBooks Payments, with QuickBooks Bill Pay, with QuickBooks Payroll, with QuickBooks Online, that suite, you're going to have a better end-to-end option. That is the goal or the promise. The reality remains to be seen on how that plays out. What does it do? So there's three major things that Intuit Enterprise Suite is introducing that is going to be enticing for people to look into, right? One is multiple entity. So the whole model of QuickBooks Online is one entity, one subscription, right? So you can have the same user have access to multiple entities, but it involves switching companies, right? So you have to click on the gear, go to switch company, and go into that other company. And those are completely disconnected, right? So they don't have a connection between those two. So multi-entity allows people, those larger organizations that have multiple entities, to be able to switch between them without logging out, logging back in. And there'll be a dashboard inside of Intuit Enterprise Suite that allows them to do things like intercompany transfers between those entities. The rejoicing from Rachel.
I'm telling you, you do a lot of that, and that is such a pain.
The way they were showing it in the demonstration is that when you do have multiple entities and you are creating an intercompany transfer, you'll be able to select that this is for an allocation type of thing, and then it will add another column called company, and then you'll just be able to choose right there on the journal entry what company gets allocated what amount. So if you're doing rent, right, the parent company is paying rent for all of the subsidiaries, a franchise, or what have you. You'll be able to allocate that right there on the screen because you'll have a company column, so you'll be able to choose that with, which will, streamline that whole process. In addition to that, they're introducing to come along with the multiple entity is this idea of dimensions, which will be another column and another field that you'll be able to allocate the dimension. So think of it like class and location and tags had a baby, right? So this is just another field that you're able to specify. You can have up to 20 of them to allow for another dimension, no pun intended, of reporting. So you'll be able to use class and location and tags in conjunction with this filtering in this dimension aspect. So that's a new thing that's coming in there. And then the long awaited for change orders. This is one thing that QuickBooks Online never did, was do change orders well. So we have a separate transaction type called a change order that will actually be independent of an estimate, right? This is something that I appreciated over top of how change orders are handled in desktop. Desktop, you have to modify the original estimate, and then the change that you made shows up as a text blurb on the original estimate, and then you have to send that off for approval, right? Where change orders in Intuit Enterprise Suite are a totally separate transaction, still non-posting, just like an estimate, but that allows for independent approval of just that change order. And when they approve it, assuming that they do this online, they'll approve it online, and then that will go back automatically and update the original estimate. So you'll see two separate things, one for a change order, one for an estimate. And when they approve it, it will update the original estimate, and you can use that as the blueprint for your invoicing going from there. So those are the three major areas or functionality introductions that are being made specifically to Intuit Enterprise Suite. Along with all of that comes some reporting package. So you'll have 7 brand new reports: committed costs of the change orders report, project status report, project cost by vendor and project. So now we have it.
Asked you if you had any more info about projects.
Yeah. And then project cost details and unpaid bills by vendor and project, and time by employee and project. So you're getting a lot more in-depth reporting that all the naysayers of QuickBooks Online doesn't do job costing is being addressed by this reporting. Now, does it make sense to do Intuit Enterprise Suite if all you need are these reports? Probably not. Because the first question, especially that a lot of accountants and bookkeepers and independent practitioners are going to ask, is how much does this cost? Because that's what you want to know first, is whether or not the juice is worth the squeeze. When it comes to, is this worth it? That remains to be seen. So this is the way I explained with the price. The way I envision the whole pricing of this is not, if you're looking to go to Intuit's website and see what the price is and order it, that's not the way this is being positioned at first. The same thing is if you wanted to go to ADP's website and find out how much payroll is, they're not going to tell you on their website, right? They need to have a conversation first. Because there's 3 factors that are going to determine the price, right? Like how many entities you have, right? Because Intuit Enterprise Suite comes with a base of 2, right? So you're going to have that parent-child relationship. 2 is the number of users that you need in the Intuit Enterprise Suite. It comes with a base of 10, 2 super users and 10 standard users. So I don't know if that's 12 or if it's a total of 10. So there's a user package. You can have up to 500 users in the Intuit Enterprise Suite, and those can be given granular access to all of the different entities. So that's one thing that they're going to need to have a conversation about who needs to do what, right? Inside of your QuickBooks, how many users would that be? And then that's going to have a price tag associated with it. So the number of entities, the number of users, and then the number of services, right? So if you're open to switching your payroll service to QuickBooks Online Elite, that's what's powering the payroll service underneath that, QuickBooks Payments and QuickBooks Bill Pay, right? That allows them to be a little bit more negotiative when it comes to what the price actually is. Now, I was sent, actually this morning's, a report from an independent research company called Cleveland Research that attended Intuit's Investor Day. And they provided me a little bit of insight into what they were told based off of the promise of what's coming. So Intuit Enterprise Suite, the early adopters are paying about $20,000 a year for those that have opted into the Intuit Enterprise Suite ecosystem. So
Wait, is that for per client or is that for my QBOA?
that is for the suite, right? So this ends up being a packaged contract when it all boils down to, because they're going to have a qualifying discovery. They're going to have a sales conversation. There's going to be demonstration. So this is a long sales process to even get to the point of how much does this cost.
This is for my use, for my firm. No, I'm not getting this for each of my clients, correct?
Right. This is for, not for you as a firm owner. This is for whatever client is opting into this enterprise suite package. Much if you have.
And asking, so in my QBOA, if I go to this client that is opted into this, when I go in there in my QBOA, this will pop up.
Yeah, it'll
for another client that doesn't have it, when I toggle back to that client, it's just going to be QB Plus or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. Same way that you have it today, right? You have a client that's on Advanced, you have a client that's on Simple Start, you have a client that's on Plus. You experience the feature set of that client's subscription.
All right.
And the way that I'm starting to see is this is actually very similar to what you experience as an accountant in QBOA, QuickBooks Online Accountant. You get some of the same familiar functionalities when you are in the Intuit Enterprise Suite ecosystem. So you can invite, as a firm owner, you can invite a team member, and then they dovetail off of your accountant invitation to access your clients, right? So you can have unlimited team members in your firm. So they're using that kind of same underlying technology to allow those users to be able to have that access to the various entities. So they're just going to be setting up a parent-child relationship between those entities when they initially have that conversation of, okay, we have this parent organization and then multiple entities underneath that. So they'll be having access or user access to the multiple entity aspect of it. And then inside of that, they'll be able to grant various access to those entities. So let's say they're you have a bill payment clerk, whether we're all the AP clerk that's doing accounts payable, and then you can grant them access to those companies that they need to have access to you, and then not have access to companies that don't do the accounts payable process. So you're able to provide access, not just on an entity level, but also within what they can do within each of those companies, which is something that I've been seeing evolving as we get closer to this launch. So that's the whole user aspect is sounding very familiar to what we see with GBOA and team access. But in this case, those users, as you can have unlimited users in GBOA, you can't have unlimited users in the Enterprise Suite. You can have up to 500, right? So that way, you're not like, okay, if one entity has the advanced functionality, and another entity has plus functionality, because maybe I don't need that, or maybe I have simple start functionality of one of my entities. It's just what do you call it? I can't think of the word. Maybe it's just a shell company for the building. There we go. So if you had a building and you had a shell entity for that, obviously you don't need all the bells and whistles of enterprise or advanced for that. You maybe just have a simple start option, but then you have a crew of 25, let's just say 30 people that need access to that company to be able to do that. This allows you to be able to do that, because simple start, you only have one user, but in reality, you can have these multi-entity users have access to that company to do whatever it is that they need to do. So that's getting away from the subscription of simple start only has one user and has only these features. That's allowing multiple users to access a simple start company, right? So that's one of the options or availabilities in this whole suite. So that's the whole point of it. Sorry, I didn't see your hand raising.
Hey, so for accountant, if I can sell this to my client, are we getting revenue share?
Yes, you're not going to sell it though. So Intuit has made it very clear that especially that first year, the whole sales process is going to be owned by them, right?
Okay.
So at this point, the best you can do is refer a company into this process, and Intuit owns the entire sales process from start to finish. And when it comes down to, okay, they signed the contract and they're ready to get started, that's when you would get your referral bounty or whatever it is that they're offering. They have made the roadmap is, hey, probably in a year or so,
Okay.
we'll have enough learnings from this whole process to introduce other outside of Intuit to be able to assist in either the implementation of Intuit Enterprise Suite or additional services that are outside of the umbrella. Let's say they're an e-commerce seller and they say, hey, I need some help choosing a sales connector to multiple of these. Hey, we need Rachel to be able to do that. So that is probably not going to occur until a year from now before it gets to that.
Okay.
If it even does. Like they could potentially be like, oh, yeah, we bought another company to help us. Who knows what that year is going to be? Because their focus is, especially this first go round, is those that are in the contracting professional services space that need this sort of thing, right? That doesn't mean that this is the be all and end all of the feature set. This is laying the foundation for those other industry verticals to be able to be added on into this. And of course, this is going to take a turn as they learn and launch, which is a common thing. They launch and then
You don't think it's just going to be perfection rolling out the very first time? But no, for now, if I get a client that's got multiple entities and asking about consolidation and something like that, I can suggest they recently rolled this out. I can refer them to Intuit to explain you all the
yeah,
things.
if you are connected with a QuickBooks solution provider, they will provide the way to be able to do that. If you are not, and you are enrolled in the Pro Advisor Revenue Share Program, there will be a way to submit the referral that way. But that's really all you're going to be involved with as an accounting professional this go around, right? Like after this launch, because it makes sense. They need to learn what people are asking and those types of things. They have a very strong sales organization. My wife was one of them for 10 years. It's definitely they want to be in control of all this, especially at first launch. Now, I understand bookkeepers and accounting professionals, they want to consume it first before you even entertain talking about this with your client, right? Just bear in mind that whole matrix of the number of users. It's not a cookie cutter matrix where you can just say, well, I have this many users, this many subscriptions, this many services, and choose it off the menu. Because most of my analogies revolve around food, which if you saw my dad bod, you would know. But this is really a buffet as opposed to a menu. Right?
Yeah.
When you go to a restaurant and the value is in the buffet, and you can get a lot of value if you sat there for 4 hours and just continued to graze off the buffet, as opposed to, okay, I just want my crab puffs, and there's a price for that.
Yeah.
On the buffet, there's crab puff station, and not as fresh as coming straight off the menu. I think it's a similar scenario when it comes to evaluating this QuickBooks Online subscription versus the Intuit Enterprise Suite.
Yeah, I'm actually probably gonna let them work some things out for a little while and probably not get super involved in that right now because 1, I can't learn anything new right now, and 2, I don't really have anybody that, I feel would be that I would give up what I'm using right now for this at this point, so I'm probably just gonna let them work it out a little bit longer.
Yeah, I think time will tell as a point, sail this ship in the various direction, navigate the seas, I would say, speaker. But you will, if you have a client or you come across a client that is using Intuit Enterprise Suite, you can be invited as an accountant, just like you can with all the other flavors. QuickBooks Online will show up in your dashboard, and then you just access it just like any other accountant user. You will just experience the feature set that will be built in. So you'll see those dimensions, you'll see change orders, you'll see the reports that will be available to those particular users for what, not QuickBooks Enterprise in the cloud. That's
That's what people are gonna do.
Oh,
They're
sure.
gonna jump to the conclusion. I'm saying it. I'm calling it right now.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. It's the word advanced has been overused. Descriptions that start with the letter P have been overused on the Intuit ecosystem of services. One other thing that I wanted to chat about with this whole idea of Intuit Enterprise Suite is AI, right? So this is going to allow them when you're under the umbrella of everything Intuit, the Intuit Assist, the generative AI model that they're rolling out. This is going to allow that to do a lot more.
Cool.
And that's where things are going to be really exciting for some of those companies when they're able to do some things automatically that you can't do in QuickBooks Desktop or you can't do inside of your QuickBooks. But just imagining, right? You have a MailChimp subscription and you have your QuickBooks subscription. Subscriptions in this case, because it's multiple entities, they'll be able to a trend and purchasing trends across all of those entities.
Cool.
And then AI is then going to come in and be able to write a pretty good copy, a compelling copy, because they have all of that data to be able to evaluate that, not just with your company, but all of the other mail users.
Yeah, so you've got benchmarks. And if you're somebody that works in, let's say, legal, and that's all you do, and all your customers are that, then you can create some really cool benchmarking.
Exactly. And so that is where this is going to potentially accelerate a business that fits the needs for this, is that whole across the ecosystem and in that suite of services, because you're not going to get that when you have QuickBooks Online Plus with Shopify and Webgility and a Frankenstein of applications that don't talk to each other. And that's
Yeah, but that stuff perfect.
you sure.
I'm ready to move on. Yeah, I'm just kidding. I'm telling you, like, I learn something so cool about AI every single day. I learn a new trick, a new feature, a new something every single day. I use it every day. I'm sure you do too.
And there's going to be a new term that you're going to hear about along with this Intuit Enterprise Suite about AI powered humans.
Boom.
So I don't know how this is going to play out, but they're the people that are going to be connected to this whole project. And you're going to have a customer success manager and implementation specialist. So if you are coming from desktop and those type of things, you're going to be assigned. They're going to help own the whole process of getting it activated and implemented and set up. And then you're going to have this whole idea of what they can do with their AI tool to help you, right? People with machines and technology are going to be involved in this, especially in the next 12 months.
That's really important because not everybody can just hop on YouTube and teach themselves everything. That's the way I do it, but that's not conducive to everybody. Some people learn with their hand holding or somebody helps them step by step, or they just have somebody to talk to. You know what I mean? But that's absolutely necessary because the people that are faster to adapt to AI and know how to use it as a effective tool are the ones that are going to be the most successful using the software in our industry. By far.
Yeah. And I can foresee, right, this could be the closed door, right? If you refer somebody to this, you could potentially be out of a client when it comes down to all of that, because Intuit has decided that they're owning the end-to-end process, because there's things that you don't have insight into as a.
I don't know about that, because they don't have their live bookkeepers can't do the bookkeeping of the consolidated reporting and all this kind of stuff, especially if their policy right now is they don't touch anything. They just look at the screen and kind of point you around.
That's QuickBooks Live assisted.
Oh, live assisted, right. So no, I know what you're saying, because my employee Alyssa was actually working for doing the bookkeeping, but she said they turn away so much. I don't think they're ready yet.
They're certainly not, right?
Yeah, I mean,
they're
never. I'm just saying
the full service bookkeeping is definitely more of the simple aspect, and of course, this is a huge leap. When you're dealing with multiple and whatnot.
And not only that, like one thing I learned at Abbey Camp is they're retooling all this training. And basically what they're doing is they're cutting down the amount of hours to train these users. And it's, ouch, I can't imagine cutting down from 32 to 16 hours to 8 hours only. For me, it's like way too complex. I really don't understand that thinking. But I also think that, I don't know, I just don't see, unless they're hiring really complex cost accounting.
Here's the thing. If you are embracing the entire Intuit ecosystem, and there's functionality that's going to be automated because you've done so, the whole idea of somebody who's on QuickBooks Online sends you an invoice to somebody that's on Intuit Enterprise Suite. They accept it. That automatically creates the bill for them to be able to pay that, and then they can automatically schedule. So there's no trainings involved in that whole process.
That's a really good point. For the for the module inside QuickBooks and I see what you're saying. Okay, yeah.
You can potentially.
I feel like I'm always putting out fires, and there's always some problem, and this didn't sync, and this didn't go, and that I have a hard time imagining it error-free, driven by AI. I just can't imagine that right now.
There will always be a place, and I thought the same thing every time that they would release a new feature or functions. Oh my God, this is making it so much easier. Who are we going to be talking to? Because there's no problems. There's an ocean of people that will still need assistance and help.
And we're facilitators at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Software facilitators, automation facilitators. But I just don't think that the need for that is ever going to go away. And we understand the accounting behind it. And so that's just so necessary. And I think of it like this. When they created gadgets to help people speed up their time or whatever, then we just replaced it with other stuff. When we got the smartphones that were supposed to streamline everything, then now we're busier than ever. So I'm applying that kind of logic to it. You know what I mean? I just feel like
exactly.
I create a whole new need in auxiliary industry for understanding the AI, creating custom whatever, facilitating and assisting with systems. That's always going to be needed.
Yeah. Whatever your thought about self-checkout at Walmart or the grocery store. It just allows for more capacity, right? So there's 6 registers that people can scan their stuff, and then there's one person manning the blinking lights, right? So
you don't set your one item on the wait, and all of a sudden it's get supervisor, and I'm like, oh my God.
Right. Oh, you're trying to buy alcohol? Okay, we need to call somebody else. Do those types of things. So that's what we'll be involved to do is as a professional, you'll be that person at the self-checkout responding to blinking lights.
Yeah.
As opposed to weighing the bananas.
You see, I'll be the Target lady that's standing there in my red rack, like swiping my thing and saying, okay.
Oh, I like these. Okay.
Try these yet? Are these good?
Exactly. So it's just another evolution of how this technology is going to affect people in the accounting and bookkeeping industry. Remains to be seen how this all plays out, but it's been launched, and we'll see how it goes as time tells. Appreciate you joining us for an in-depth, introductory.
I couldn't be here last week because I loved talking about inventory. Oh, man.
But we will have Sean joining us next week. We'll be talking with Katana. We'll kind of be comparing, right? So to answer your question that you asked me, yes, it will do inventory in Intuit Enterprise Suite, assuming that they have the flavors of those entities that do. There's no enhanced inventory functionality.
Like you still can't do manufacturing. It's really just for buying and reselling goods.
So we'll be talking with Shauna Katana. We'll be going to the next side-by-side comparison of advanced inventory in QuickBooks Enterprise compared to a cloud-based solution like Katana. And we'll be talking about batch, lot tracking, and serial number tracking. The traceability aspect of their functionalities in QuickBooks Enterprise Platinum Edition versus something that's cloud-based. And I hope you can join us for that. Have a great week, everybody. We'll see you next time.
And that wraps up another insightful episode of Workshop Wednesday, brought to you by Schoolofbookkeeping.com. We hope you enjoyed today's discussion and took away some valuable tips and strategies to enhance your bookkeeping practice. Remember, if you want to stay ahead in the world of bookkeeping and accounting, be sure to visit Schoolofbookkeeping.com. With a wide range of courses, resources, and expert guidance, you'll find everything you need to sharpen your skills and boost your career. Don't forget to subscribe to our podcast on your favorite platform so you never miss an episode. And if you enjoyed today's show, please take a moment to leave us a review on your podcast platform of choice. Your reviews help us reach more listeners and continue to bring you the best content every week. If you have questions or topics you'd like us to cover, reach out to us on social media or send us an email at support@schoolofbookkeeping.com. We love hearing from our listeners and are always looking for new ideas to explore. Thanks for tuning in to Workshop Wednesday. Until next time, keep learning, keep growing, and keep excelling in your bookkeeping journey. I'm Dan DeLong, and we'll see you next week.